ever since I got a little taste of the combat for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I've been wanting more. I actually climbed into a hole and just laid there motionless because of how much withdrawal I'm going through. What I played felt absolutely amazing, and it was just a very tiny little bit, 2 little sections of the game. I already detailed a video talking about that, but I just keep finding myself thinking about more things I wanted to test out and try out, and also ultimately what new things are left to be uncovered. It is an action RPG with turn-based elements, which is different and more of a hybrid from the traditional form of what the game originally was, but it still retains that amazing customizability that the original Final Fantasy VII and a lot of great RPGs have. And so today I want to talk to you guys about what I think is my most anticipated element to Final Fantasy VII Rebirth that I cannot wait to decipher, dissect, and talk about with you guys. And that is the skill tree. A system many RPGs and also non-RPGs utilize very differently, but I think Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is about to put a massive spin on it in a very welcomed way that I think will be a nice staple for the genre as a whole. And speaking of amazing RPGs, shoutouts to Atlas for sponsoring this video. Persona 5 Tactica releases on November 17th on Xbox Series X and S, Xbox One, Windows PC, Steam, PS4, PlayStation 5, and Nintendo Switch. Virtually everywhere. The Persona series has been a long-time juggernaut in the turn-based RPG series. Persona 5 still to this day remains the best turn-based game in the last 7 years since its release. And with Persona 5 Tactica, it's looking to take on a new version of turn-based, in a tactics turn-based style battle. Your iconic friends from the Phantom Thieves make a return, and they really put a unique spin on the gameplay. Every character has a special move that benefits a certain playstyle. Like Ryuji focuses on AoE damage in his field of fire ahead of him. His shotgun can hit multiple enemies. His unique skill, Brigantine Blitzkrieg, hits a wide range in a straight line even if enemies are in cover. His Persona Captain Kid inflicts shock damage to enemies as well. Ann can trigger burn damage over time effects on multiple enemies, and her Persona Carmen can deliver bombs directly to enemies even if they're hiding in cover. But my favorite has to be Haru, who can use her Persona Milady to AoE hit enemies, and also it groups them up together, which is an insanely valuable move in turn-based tactics games and can resolve battles in possibly the quickest way. The Phantom Thieves boast a wide variety of skills, and knowing how to use each of them are key in every battle to defeat your enemies, or at least look stylish while doing it. Don't just take my word for it though. Check out Persona 5 Tactica on November 17th on PlayStation 4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, Switch, Windows PC, and Steam. Now for this conversation, we're gonna have to jump back a few weeks ago. Well, a little over 2 months now. And since this PlayStation blog article came out, we already talked about this, but there is a key detail in here that I really think is important to mention. This article was actually dropped on September 14th. It was when the new trailer had released after the PlayStation State of Play. It's an interview with the developers, and there's a question in here in regards to the combat system, actually the first question. So can you explain what we're seeing of the combat system here? Has it remained untouched since Final Fantasy VII Remake, or have you altered anything for Rebirth? Hamaguchi straight up says, I want to highlight the new synergy moves most from the battle system. This new mechanic allows the players to use synergy commands and abilities freely at any time, using up a gauge charge in a similar manner to limit breaks. So through the battles, players will feel the relationships and bonds that have developed between the characters even more so than the previous game. Here's the important part. We've also added skill trees as a new element of character growth. You can unlock synergy abilities through the skill trees too. In addition to that, many new materia with new abilities not seen in the first game will be available too. So players will have even more options to fully customize and build character loadouts with their own taste. Now, some of you guys might be thinking, didn't we have skill trees in Final Fantasy VII Remake? Technically, the weapons did. So jumping back into Final Fantasy VII Remake real quick, I wanted to show you guys the upgrade system. So each individual weapon had its own skill tree, right? But it wasn't designed in a way where you were limited, where you could not complete the skill tree. You could actually obtain all the SP if you played through all the difficulties, that's normal and hard. Completed all that, you could actually get SP to go through this entire tree. What I really loved about the system was that it made every single weapon relevant. If you look at the weapon stats, like each one has different capabilities, right? The Buster Sword and the Iron Blade slightly favors magic over attack versus like the Buster Sword being all around balanced. What the Iron Blade has that the Buster Sword doesn't have though is a specific ability called Reprieve. Reprieve basically allows you to not die once in battles. So when you reach less than 1 HP, you're supposed to die, it'll keep you alive. It didn't really have a whole lot of unique variety in that sense. I mean, if we go through and you look at the different weapons, if you look at the Buster Sword, it's mostly like balanced all around, right? It's just 91 attack, 91 magic attack defense, and magic attack defense are exactly the same. It's the Iron Blades favoring magic a little bit more, but physical defense, no magic defense. Nail Bat, the meme weapon. I always thought it was interesting those kids gave this to him. Is that blood or dirt on the bottom towards the bat? Hard Edge was the hardest hitting physical attack weapon in the game for Cloud, and you see it offers very, very minimal magic attack and no defense whatsoever. Mithril Saber, probably the best weapon in the game for Cloud because of the magic attack. It's the main weapon that you want to use for just cheesing enemies in this game because magic is super OP. And magic defense. And the Twin Stinger, honestly, the best thing that comes from this is the ability. Oh, and that was another thing too. Each weapon came with its own ability, and when you master that ability by reaching the proficiency on the far right, you get 100%, and you get to keep the ability. You don't have to just have the weapon equipped in. You could use it on anywhere you want with Cloud. And that works for all the other characters too. I mean, they all pretty much follow the same theme. And that was a really cool aspect to this game. And I really can't wait to see just how much further they take it in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, because now there will be an official skill tree per each character, not just tied to the weapons and not something that just, you kind of just max out and you just, that's it right there. They're talking about customizing specific playstyles and catering to what each player individually wants to do, as if the materia system didn't already do that, which it did. But what's awesome is there are other stats that very well could be affected by the skill tree, and as far as character growth, which is what they're specifically talking about here. Shoutouts to Maria. She actually screenshotted this from a video somebody uploaded where they were going through the individual stats for every character in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. We talked about this a little bit before, but I really wanted to go into a little bit more detail with it. What's interesting about this is all of these stats right here, from attack to speed, are already present in Final Fantasy VII Remake. That's nothing new. However, we got some hidden stats, or stats that were never really a thing, starting with critical hit rate and critical hit damage. This was actually pertaining towards your luck in Remake. In Remake, however high your luck is, that's going to be affecting your crit rate and your crit damage. There wasn't really too much outside of that to really affect it. Funny enough, that actually was the main focus of the Nail Bat. The Nail Bat was a crit hitting weapon. And then my favorite thing is the ATB charge bonus right here. You see it's at 0% for both Cloud and Sephiroth, and essentially all the other characters in the demo too that was playable. But ATB charge bonus, if it's not something that is tied directly to the weapons, which I don't think it is, because in my playthrough I was actually going through the weapons and I didn't see these stats whatsoever being reflected at all. These stats were not actually shown in any way, so I don't think these directly will be affected by the weapons. But this menu right here is the individual character's full entire stats, not necessarily pertaining towards their weapon, armory, or accessory. So I very well think that we could see stuff like ATB charge bonuses being reflected in the skill tree. But what I would absolutely love to see in the skill tree is maybe some passive abilities being implemented that were previously materia. There are certain materia in Final Fantasy VII Remake that don't seem to exist and have been instead implemented directly into the game's system. For one thing, parry materia and where is it? Deadly dodge right here. Both of these are directly integrated into the character. So with Tifa, before you used to have this equipped, and this works on every character. You press and hold R1 and press circle to do a parry dodge, which is her dodge like slide animation. Very useful stuff. We absolutely love it. However, Deadly Dodge was you equip this and you activate it by tapping circle and pressing square. Now in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, that actually is not the case at all. You could actually just press circle anytime you want and you will do a parry dodge. That goes for all the characters in the game. Really amazing. And same thing for Deadly Dodge materia. So if you dodge and you hold the attack button down, they will execute their Deadly Dodge animation. That goes for Cloud. It went for Tifa, Barret. All of them were able to do that. And I really love that that is actually a thing. I have a feeling that that is actually being tied to the skill tree. And what else is really cool is, this is what's blowing my mind even more, is what if because like they did this, other stuff like ATB stagger is going to be integrated into the skill tree, because I felt like, you know, this purple materia was so good, so valuable, that you couldn't really make a nice build without it. And it just felt like it was really handicapping your materia customizability, because there was only so many combinations you could do without these. So stuff like also luck up materia too, which will probably most likely make a return, because I saw magic up is in the game and MP up stuff too. ATB assist is another really good one. I would love to see this return, of course, not as a materia, as an individual thing that we could do as characters. And one thing I also wonder too is with Tifa's one of her moves, Focus Strike right here. This move makes a comeback in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. However, it lost a really valuable function to it. See, look at Tifa's ATB. This actually refunds ATB, so she gets back a lot of funnel a lot of ATB to her teammates. However, in Rebirth, that seemingly isn't there right now. But now I'm wondering, very well, if the skill tree will allow us to make that a passive ability, where certain moves specifically we could actually give it so that it has that effect where if it lands on hit, it'll do reduced damage. However, it will refund ATB for said character. Now, Cloud actually has an ability that does this too. So yeah, look at Cloud's ATB right here. Disorder, it doesn't give as much back as Tifa's Focus Strike, but it still does refund back ATB. A little less than half, right? A little less than half of an ATB, I guess. But that is so useful and such a godlike thing to have in this system that I don't think they're getting rid of it. I think that it's going to be repurposed in the skill tree, because it's evident that a lot of things already are. It looks like, you know, the parry materia is also just embedded into the characters, deadly dodge as well. Seemingly, a lot of purple materia's functions have been adjusted in that way. Who's to say that abilities will also receive a similar treatment, right? Disorder wasn't in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth's demo. I'm pretty sure it might make a return, as it was a pretty useful ability for this particular thing, and also helping Cloud like switch stances seamlessly in battle. So with the skill tree, we can expect to see things like crit hit rate being increased, crit hit damage, ATB charge bonuses, the initial limit levels as well. That type of stuff I am all in for when it comes to customizing the characters and trying to figure out the most crazy and like broken capabilities that you can have in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, because they've definitely, from what I've played, loved everything that we you know, as fans found and dissected, and they amplified that by 100. Unfortunately, the ATB refunding was removed, but I think that that is not the case. I don't think it's fully removed. I think it's tied to the skill tree, and hopefully we will be finding that out very soon, sooner than later, I would hope. I mean, it's been 2 months now since that information was revealed to us, and since we got the last trailer, we got a bunch of gameplay stuff in between then. The Game Awards is December 7th, next month, the day of 7, of course. That's going to probably be where we hear the next big thing for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I would imagine. I mean, it's the biggest gaming event of the year. Lots of crazy reveals have happened there before, and it just seems like the perfect place to be. Now, I'm not trying to say the skill tree and a system like that will be revealed during the event. I'm just saying around that time, because typically whenever they release a trailer or they do an event, you can expect a few articles and a few gameplay demonstrations to come up within the day or two, either from PlayStation Blog or wherever else, that will detail and notate all kinds of different things that they were able to experiment and check out early access wise. So those are my hopes, and I'm honestly, guys, like the customization options are about to get crazy. I mean, we're just looking at Red and the few other characters right here, but it's just like what we can do with this system. Like, instead of having to have Tifa, which I love Tifa, don't get me wrong, but instead of having to have Tifa as the battery, the one that's refilling everybody's ATBs and constantly refilling hers as well and dealing a lot of pressure, we could probably do that with another character. We could probably make another character that point battery character and have the other ones as anchors, you know, like seeing if that system will allow us to do that. Man, I just have a feeling we're going to be playing this for a very long time, especially if these combat routes are about to get even more insane than they already were. But of course, I want to hear what you guys think in the comments below. So be sure to like the video if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you are new. More Final Fantasy videos are on the way, and you don't want to miss them. My name is BltzZ, and thanks for watching.